Today, we are diving into a court case from 19th century Ceylon that honestly has it all. A secret love affair, a really bitter family feud, and a legal ruling that would send ripples for generations, pitting this old colonial power against local reality.
And at the heart of it all is this one question. Can a secret love affair actually survive an all-out war over land and inheritance? What you're about to hear is the story of a family just torn apart and a legal system that was forced to choose between two completely different worlds.
So, to really get what's going on in the court case, you first have to meet the family at the center of it all and unravel the forbidden secret they kept for years. All right, first up, meet the man in the middle of this whole mess, Sinho Apu. This was a guy who was basically straddling two worlds, living two very, very different lives that, well, were pretty much destined to collide. Now, this is Bahami. She was his legally recognized wife. Their marriage was the official one, the one that society and the law acknowledged. And then there's Angohamy. For years, she was Sinho Apu's partner in a secret adulterous relationship. I mean, he lived with her, they had children together, all while he was still legally married to Babahami. And this timeline right here shows you exactly how this fragile setup just completely fell apart. For years, Sinho Apu keeps up this double life, but then his wife Babahami dies. He pretty quickly has a marriage ceremony with Angohamy and even gives her some land, calling her my wife right there in the official deed. You know, it seems like a fresh start. But then he dies suddenly. And guess what? He didn't leave a will, leaving behind a total legal and emotional disaster.
So with Sinho Apu gone, that carefully built double life of his was about to be blown wide open in a huge battle for his inheritance. And who lit the fuse? Well, it was Sinho Apu's daughter from his first legal marriage. She filed a lawsuit directly against Angohamy, and her goal was to reclaim the family inheritance she felt was rightfully hers.
Okay, so the daughter's argument was pretty simple. She said the marriage to Angohamy was totally illegal because it came from adultery. And because of that, she argued the gift of land, which was made to continue this immoral relationship, it had to be canceled. But Angohamy, she fought back. She claimed her marriage was perfectly valid under local laws and that the land was a legitimate gift from her husband.
And just like that, this very personal family drama exploded onto a much bigger stage. It turned into this fascinating clash between two entirely different legal worlds. You had the rigid colonial code versus a new local law. The daughter's entire case, her whole strategy, rested on this thing called Roman Dutch law. Now, this was the legal system brought over by European colonizers, and it was deeply, deeply rooted in a very strict conservative Christian morality that took well, let's just say a very dim view of things like adultery. And check this out. This table right here lays out the central conflict perfectly. Under the old Roman Dutch law, it was absolutely forbidden to marry the person you had an affair with, even after your spouse died. It was basically seen as rewarding bad behavior. But the new local law, this Ordinance Number 6 of 1847, it was completely silent on the issue. There was no rule like that at all. So the huge question was, which law should the court follow? So all of this mess, the love, the land, the law, it all landed right in the lap of the Supreme Court of Ceylon. And now they had to untangle it. The entire family's future was hanging on their decision. So first things first, the most fundamental question the judges had to answer was this. Was the marriage between Sinho Apu and Angohamy even valid to begin with? And the answer from the court? A huge, resounding no. They declared the marriage void. They decided that when the new local law was silent on an issue, the old, morally strict Roman Dutch law still applied. So that secret marriage of theirs was, in the eyes of the law, totally illegal. Now, that ruling had immediate and just devastating consequences. I mean, if the marriage was void, what on earth did that mean for the legal status of their children? Yep, you probably guessed it. The court ruled they were illegitimate. Since the very marriage that was supposed to make them legitimate was now declared invalid, the children had absolutely no legal claim to their father's name or his inheritance. But there was still one crucial piece of the puzzle left. The land. What about the property that Sinho Apu had gifted to Angohamy when he was still alive? And this is where the court's decision gets really complex and, frankly, a little weird. First, they totally agreed with the daughter. They said the gift was immoral, and therefore it was void. But and this is a huge but, they also found that the daughter had waited too long to sue. A 3-year time limit had run out. So, in this unbelievable final twist, because of a legal technicality, Angohamy got to keep the land.
And get this was not some easy, unanimous decision, not at all. The final verdict came down to a 2-to-1 split among the judges. That just shows you how contentious these legal issues really were, with deep, deep disagreement at the highest level. And that one dissenting judge, Justice Lowry, he made a really powerful counterargument. You can see it in this quote. He basically believed that the new local law was supposed to be the complete and final word on marriage. In his view, if the new law didn't forbid something, the court had no business reaching back into some old colonial code to make it forbidden. So let's recap. A woman loses her marriage but keeps her land. Her children are declared illegitimate. It's a mess, right? So why are we still talking about this 19th century case? Well, because its verdict sent ripples through Sri Lankan law that are still felt even today. This single ruling ended up cementing the power of that old colonial law in the most personal family matters. It totally exposed the deep tension between imported European morality and the actual realities of local life. And it set these incredibly powerful precedents on everything from the legitimacy of children to whether gifts were valid, becoming a cornerstone case that would be cited in Sri Lankan courts for decades and decades. And all of this leaves us with a really provocative thought. A question at the very heart of this case that is just as relevant now as it was back then. Should the law be some kind of moral guide for society, or should it just reflect the reality of how people actually live their lives?